Hello everyone, my name of course is Resonant and welcome back to a new video. Now today in this video we're going to be talking about Mordhau. Now I'm really excited about this game, all the new stuff that we've been told, it's really bringing up the hype and I think all the fans are really looking forward to it as well. It's started to build around a really nice community and especially people that have been a fan of games such as Chivalry and Medieval Warfare. I know they're probably fed up of people comparing it to that, but they surely got to understand why people compare it to that. But this looks like it's improving on that game in every single way, which is amazing for the fans, and that is why it is gaining such a big reputation in the medieval or historical genre or gaming community. So I'm going to be going through the new gameplay combat trailer. Well, not really trailer actually. This is some combat that we've just been told about in a video, and I'm going to be going over some of the points that I've picked out, and I'll be showing the gameplay of it in the background of this video. Now, obviously, I'm not going to play the whole thing in this video because I want you guys to go check it out. There'll be a link in the description to the full video. Go check it out. You can see it all in its nicely edited glory. But today in this video, I'm going to be just going through the main points and showing the relevant parts of the video to you. It won't be in order, maybe. We'll see, kind of. Guess what happens? But enjoy today's video. Now, they showed quite a number of new weapons in this new gameplay or combat video, one of them being the sledgehammer. We can see multiple videos or clips with the sledgehammer being in use, and what you can really tell from these clips is that they're able to work out the right physics in this game to ensure that you feel like you're holding a heavy weapon. Many games or very many sword fighting games, it doesn't feel like you're holding a big lumbering weapon, but you can really see the impact when the sledgehammer cracks against the guy's skull. He goes flying, and you can really tell that there's a lot of weight behind this mechanic and this weapon in the game. You also see weapons such as billhooks, we see morning stars, flanged maces, and all that good stuff. We see some fighting picks as well, which we have actually seen in other trailers or gameplay footage, that you can actually swivel around which way you use the fighting pick, whether it be the hammer side or the actual pick side, and that will be very useful. I hope they're going to use it realistically as if it was for getting separate opponents. So the hammer side will be very good for doing blunt damage, for knocking a heavily armored opponent on the head, giving him concussion and maybe even breaking some bones in there. And of course the spiked end will be good for getting at the fleshy parts or in the chinks of armor. Now, something else away from the weapon side and more about the fighting mechanics side, they're showing us some ducking and dodging. Now, this is something that we haven't really seen in many games, especially of this genre. When you're in a 1v1 fight, a lot of games and developers forget that it wasn't just about slicing your enemy, it wasn't just about slashing and blocking. There was a lot more to it, and it seems that Mordhau have taken this under their wing and they have added in things such as ducking and dodging, and weaving around the enemy's swords, being able to get in and under. And this kind of takes me on to my next point. Is it looks like this will be the case, as we have seen, as I explained with the sledgehammer point, that the different weapons you use will basically instate the different ways you play your duels, the ways you play your battles. For example, if you are using the sledgehammer, as I mentioned earlier, you're going to have a heavier weapon. This means you're going to be slower in combat, but you're going to do a ton more damage. But let's say you're using a dagger or some sort of short sword. You're going to be able to duck in, weave, and go around the enemy, try and get the stabs here and there, but you will do less damage. But it will mean you'll be able to be quicker and more nimble on the battlefield. So it's a very trading sort of combat system that they are going for, or from what I predict they're going for what we have seen here, and I'm very excited to see how it plays out in the game. Another small mechanic that they have added into this game that we can see in this combat video is kicking. Now, kicking can have its advantages and its disadvantages, as we have seen in other games such as Mount and Blade Warband. If you're kicking, obviously you have to be stationary, and that's what it looks like they are doing in this game. So you are vulnerable while you're in the process. If you miss that kick, you are extremely vulnerable to enemies' attack. They can counterattack and you won't be ready. There is a video actually of a guy with a sledgehammer trying to kick, and he manages just to block it in time, but a lot of the time you're not going to be able to do that. So kicking has to be very precise, and you have to do it at the right time, or you're going to probably regret it. But if you get it right, we can see that you can actually disable the enemy's attack, and this means that they'll be very vulnerable for you to then follow it up with a swipe or a stab or whatever you want to do in order to get your advantage over the enemy. So kicking can be very advantageous if you do it at the right moment, but if you place it just a second wrong, it can be very, very dangerous for you. Now, we have seen in some of the other videos that you can decapitate your enemy, you can chop off limbs, but you can also do that not just while the enemy is alive, but while he's dead on the floor as well, which means I think we'll have some entertaining moments in battles with people just going around cutting limbs off each other, even the dead bodies on the floor. I know it's just a small thing, but I really love games that do that go into the detail of chopping off limbs. I think it is a very, I don't want to say attractive, but then again, I think it is. You wouldn't think that chopping off limbs is a very attractive thing to have in a game, but I think it actually really does attract other players into games such as this, and this is why I think Chivalry was, very popular, since they did actually have that in the game, and people like gore. Now, not only do you have first person, I think this is the first time we've actually had footage of some third person gameplay in Mordhau, which I didn't really notice at first. I watched it quite a while ago, actually, when it first was released. I waited a few days, and I went and watched it again and put some notes down, and as I was trying to analyze it more carefully to get my notes for this video, I noticed that there was actually some clips of the person playing in third person, and this really surprised me, since I thought Mordhau was trying to be the first person simulator sort of combat game. And then I thought about it, and I thought, this could have many, many advantages to the way you play it, but also I think this might be something that many people might not like. Me personally, I'm very neutral to this decision, because I'm more of a person that's like, I guess we'll just see how it works. If it works well, then it's a good idea. If it doesn't work well, then it isn't. I'm not going to make my judgments before I actually play the game for myself. Some people may want this to be a solely first-person combat simulator game, and this might annoy a few people, but then again, I think there's a lot of people that might welcome this. Will they limit it to certain game modes? I don't know. I guess we'll just have to find out once the game is released. Not only can you fight in close quarters combat with your weapons, but there's also the ability to last-ditch attempt to kill your enemy, throw your sword at them. And as you can see, this is actually attempted in the video. The sword is thrown, but the first-person perspective of the recorder that we can see actually blocks it, which kind of reinforces the fact that you don't really want to do this as a main fighting tactic, because obviously you're gonna lose your weapon. So this is a sort of last-ditch attempt to try and take out the enemy. If you don't think you can beat them in close quarters combat, maybe you can throw a sword at them or your weapon at them, and maybe just have that chance of winning the duel. Now, it'll be very interesting to see what weapons you can do this with, because obviously it shows us happening with the sword. But it would be very entertaining if that would happen with some sort of heavier weapon, like a Morning Star or even a sledgehammer, just hauling it at them. I don't know if that's going to be in the game, but that would be a very entertaining thing to see. But yes, throwing your weapon at the enemy is also a thing. Now, we also see later on that projectile weapons are going to be in the game. You see the player throwing a javelin at a mounted horseman, and it seems to do a lot of damage, so they seem to be very effective, and of course you might expect very hard to counter. Now, going and talking about this cavalryman, we did see more footage of mounted combat, not only with horse-on-horse action, but we also saw some mounted versus infantry combat. Now, as I said in my previous trailer reaction to the video, mounted combat is a very, very nice way of giving the game variety in its combat mechanics, because if you have just infantry combat, you may find at points that it's going a bit slower than you want it to, but if you add cavalry in there, even just in certain game modes, then you're going to add a lot of variety, and it's going to speed up or slow down the combat at certain points where you want it to. Now, cavalry is probably going to be very, very vulnerable to a lot of types of infantry, especially spear infantry, or as we see here, infantry that have some sort of projectile that are able to dismount the cavalry. As a cavalryman, you want to be carrying on moving, or you kind of giving your horse redundancy in what it's actually supposed to do. You want to carry on moving and not stop like this player did here. But cavalry is definitely going to be a really nice thing that they're adding into the game, going to add a lot of variety, and I'm very glad that they are not just making it purely infantry. And I wonder if soon we'll see anything to do with some siege weaponry, or maybe even some archery or crossbows or things like that, but I guess we'll just have to see in the future. Now on to a final couple of points. They have shown some hitting multiple enemies. That wasn't really accented in these videos too much, but I think take this with a grain of salt. I think I noticed it. I'd recommend you guys going back, watching the video, or if you can tell it out via this clips in the background. It looks like they're hitting multiple enemies with a single strike, which of course is a very nice feature. So if you are surrounded like this player is in the video, you could have a chance of getting yourself out of there. But of course you're not going to be able to do that with your lighter weapons. But even then, with your lighter weapons, you may be able to get out of a situation with speed. But if you have that heavier weapon, you're going to be able to take out multiple enemies with a single strike. So it's very much balancing up your odds and how you want to use your playstyle in this game. And my final point that is shown in this video is they have tried to accent that there is a lot of ways to kill your enemy, not necessarily in a fair fight with one-on-one combat. If you manage to disarm your enemy, you should take it to your full advantage and finish him off. It doesn't matter about chivalry at this point. If you are fighting with him and he happens to let go of his weapon, that is your chance to strike, and that is going to be a big feature of this game. You're not only able to strike your opponent down in a one-on-one duel, you're able to disarm him first, make him extremely vulnerable to your attacks, and this is going to be a very, very strategical way of fighting and beating your enemies in battle. But other than that, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video. This has been a video on analysing the new combat video that we have actually seen on Mordhau. I'm really excited to see some further updates, and I hope the team keep us updated as they have been doing. And if you want to go and support the game, I'll leave all the links in the description if you want to go and do that. But of course, go and definitely watch the whole video after or before you've watched my video of it. Remember to like the video if you enjoyed it, guys. You know what to do if you didn't, but stay subscribed to the channel for more content, updates on Mordhau, other games as well, such as Bannerlord and the Total War games, and basically anything to do with the historical genre. Of course, go and follow me on Twitter, like my Facebook page, join my Steam group for all the juicy announcements, and of course come on my Discord. There's the IP in the description. You can come on, have a chat with me, we play some games, we have a lot of banter. Come on and have some fun. But other than that, guys, I will see you in the next one.